How's it going, guys? I'm here with my DVD review of the brand new Triple H DVD, Thy Kingdom Come. This DVD doesn't come out until this Tuesday, but fortunately for me, I was able to get this early at Kmart. As we all know, Kmart has been infamous for the past year of releasing their DVDs out early, and for this particular DVD, I wanted to see if they had it early. Fortunate for me, they did. They had like 4 copies there. I picked this up on Friday. I was able to watch it last night, Saturday. And yeah, I'm here to give my review for it, and let's not waste any time and jump right into the video now, shall we? Alright, of course, on the cover here, it says Triple H. You have the little skull right there with the crown and everything. Thy Kingdom Come, so like, you know, whatever cover you call it, you know, how you can fill it and whatnot. I don't know what the proper name is for it. But the cover, ever since it's revealed, I was never a big fan of it. I didn't think anything of it, to be honest. I know a lot of people liked it. There's a lot of people that didn't like it, like myself, but just a cover. What are you going to do about it? It's just, you know, like I said, a cover. You usually buy DVDs for the content anyway, so I don't think the cover really matters, but it's alright. Spine right there, it's going to look like when you put it on the shelf, Triple H Thy Kingdom Come. Go to the back, there's a picture of Triple H on the throne. Here, of course, you have the little description or bio, whatever you want to call it. Beware the Skull King, he is the vision behind you, beside you, leading to the damnation. The evolution of Paul Triple H Levesque has been a riveting journey. Years of hard work, dedication, sacrifice opened the door to achieving his dream. But his rise of power was not without a fair share of challenges. The game had to be shed with his blue blood image before rallying up an army of fellow degenerates and ultimately becoming the King of Kings. He deflected the criticism and forged ahead when he became part of the McMahon WWE dynasty to embrace his executive role as WWE Chief Operating Officer for Triple H. Thy Kingdom has truly come. So yeah, that's the DVD right there. Let me put the camera over here real quick. Yeah, that's the position. Right. Sorry, I'm trying to put it on the stand right here. Stupid thing. It's a slip-on cover, as you can see. God damn it, get off. Yeah, so there's a cover. You can see my fingerprints on it. Both the same, nothing different about the slip-on or whatnot. But move the camera back off the thing so I can show you the DVD itself. What's on it. Like I said, same. Here's the side of, you know, before you open it. You open it up. Here, of course, you have the pictures of skulls again with the contents listed on here. Here's the context for the documentary itself. You can sit there and read it, pause it, whatever you want to do. Yeah, so there's a documentary content itself. There is disc 2, the matches. There's only 4 matches because there is an Iron Man match, which is an hour long, if you don't know. The matches are also in the description, so if you don't want to read them on here, you can just read in the description. Here's content for disc 3 right there. Sorry, try and move my shadow out of the way so you can see that. Yeah, the matches I think could have been better, but you know, they're still good matches. But I just, like I said, I thought they'd be different matches and better matches. But it is what it is. You open it up. Here's the artwork. You got a picture of Triple H right there, hand to his head. With I don't know why he's wearing the ring, and that hand looks horribly photoshopped on his head, by the way. But whatever. Of course, you have disc 1, disc 2, and disc 3. Behind disc 1, of course, is him holding a title. I think that's his first and only independent title he won. I'm not 100% sure what title that is, or if he even won that, but I'm pretty sure, because I remember reading on his Wikipedia page, he won 1 title from the independent scene, so, yeah. Then again, it is Wikipedia. There's him, looks like he's trying to choke you. I don't know what the hell he's doing there. That's behind disc 2. Go in your hole. There we go. That's how I can always tell if it's in all the way, if it spins perfectly like that. And behind disc 3, you have Triple H, the COO thing with the sledgehammer trolling him. Why that's there, I don't know. Well, I know why the sledgehammer is there, obviously, but why it's randomly there. Why the fuck won't these discs go in? Go. Okay. I can already tell I'm going to have a problem with this when I... Alright. Nope. Oh my god. You're witnessing this with me, people. This is not just a... Go in. Okay, we're going to try this one more time. I'm just going to leave it out in a minute. This is really going to bother me, people. Okay, there we go. Got it. We're good. Alright, so yeah, it's the artwork and whatnot. Take the magnifying glass off now. Put this back on the stand because I don't feel like holding the camera while I talk about the DVD. Let me get this just right. With the angle where it's pointing at the DVD just right. That looks about good. But my overall thoughts on the DVD, or the documentary that is, I definitely thought it was a great documentary without a shadow of a doubt, but I did have a few issues with it. I did feel as if they didn't tell everything. I kind of felt like this was incomplete, if that makes any sense. I didn't expect them to go over detailed every little thing that happened in his career, but I feel like they skipped a few things, which kind of bothered me about this. And another thing is, sorry about that, I felt like they were kissing his ass. I mean, I know in documentaries they're not supposed to, like, you know, make them look bad, but I felt like there was too much positivity in this documentary. I felt like there was, you know, praising him way too much. I understand Triple H is, you know, a great human being, but from, like, rumors from what I've heard, I know they're just rumors, but I've heard a lot of things about Triple H, and it was hard to believe that he, you know, they made him out to be this, like, a phenomenal human being, which I'm not doubting he is whatsoever. But it was kind of like, Sanders Robin even said this himself. He kind of said like it felt like it was one-sided, and it kind of did at points. The way people were talking and just praising him. So there's a few issues I had with this, like I said. But besides that, overall, just a great documentary. Definitely DVD of the year so far, in my opinion. I think this is the best documentary. I'm just trying to place that a little better. I think the only documentaries that really are any competition for this DVD this year are the Foley DVD and the Top 25 Rivalry DVDs. Correct me if I'm wrong, but those are the only documentaries that are competing with the Triple H DVD this year. Hold on quick. Sorry about that. My door wasn't locked, and I don't feel like having anyone run in my video while I'm recording this. But yeah, I don't think we really got any other documentaries besides this one, the Foley DVD and Top 25 Rivalries. But correct me if I'm wrong. If there's any other documentaries from this year, please put it below. But I don't think there has been any full-length documentaries this year besides those three. So I definitely say this one's better of all three of them. This documentary ran just a little over 2 hours. It was 2 hours and 7 minutes long. But definitely, I actually learned a few things I didn't know. So definitely it was worth a while. Documentary started, you know, showing where he grew up as a kid. I think it was like, I said 40 or 50 minutes away from Boston. It wasn't far. It was somewhere in Massachusetts. I forgot where he was born at. But they showed his parents talking. They're pretty old. I don't know why I just threw that in there, but they're pretty old. Triple H talked about how he got into wrestling when he was 4 or 5 years old. He wasn't too sure how old he was, but he remembered it instinctively. He just remembered his dad swimming the channels, and he saw Chief Jay Strongbow on TV, and he pretty much he had the football helmet on, and he had a football in his hand. And he put those both down and just sat with his dad and watched whatever match it was. It didn't specify what match it was. It just showed Chief Jay Strongbow. And that's what got him into wrestling. And ever since then, he's been a fan. He always went to the shows with his dad. He always watched it on TV. He just became hooked after that. He talked about when he was 12 years old. No, not 12. When he was 14, he got into, bodybuilding and whatnot. He started working at a gym. Started training there. And basically, I became pretty huge. I think they said by the time he was 17, he was like 270 pounds already. I'm like, oh my god, I'm 17 and I'm not even 180 pounds. I'm fucking not even 160. I think I'm 151, around there. I'm not that, I don't weigh that much. But, yeah, this guy's always been huge since his entire life, it appears. But, yeah, he's been body lifting for 8 years by the time he started getting into wrestling. He told his parents that he wanted to be a wrestler, and his parents said he wanted to be a wrestler, then wrestle then, and that's what he did. I forgot how he came into attack with the person. I'm not 100% sure what the names, by the way, are, so I'm not going to remember a lot of the guys' names that got him into him, because I wasn't familiar with them. But somehow, I think whether the dude walked into the gym he worked at, or I think his Triple H's boss knew the guy. One of the two. Somehow he got in contact with the way to get into wrestling school, which he started wrestling with Killer Kowalski. And he said training for wrestling was, the most natural thing he's ever done. Like, he clicked with wrestling real well. He said that, training was fairly easy. He learned it real quick. It was very natural to him. He had his first match 3 months into his career. He just, wrestling was basically made for him. And, he talked about how he got into wrestling not to be a star, but to become a big name, to, basically do it for him to become a star. I mean, I think I just said he didn't become a star, but basically he didn't want to be like, do it just for the money or do it just to become popular. He just did it to make himself feel good, make himself become a star, and, feel like he accomplished something in his life. That's why he became a wrestler. And, he toured the independents for about a year, so he wasn't in the indies for very long. Back then, it wasn't very hard to get in, WCW, WWF, from, documentaries I've seen and heard and whatnot. So he was only in the independents for about a year. He talked about how he would always send tapes, and he would always, give his resume to other independent companies around the area. And one day, his boss told him that he's going to send him to a convention that Flair was going to be at, and he ran the Flair there. And, he wanted to show Flair tapes. And it's kind of funny because he said he brought DVDs, even though DVDs didn't exist at that time. But he bought tapes and, resume to Flair, but Flair didn't really have the time to look at it. And he luckily ran into another WCW representative there. And took a look at the tapes, showed him to Bischoff. Bischoff liked him. Offered Triple H a 2-year deal for $52,000 a year. Triple H said, "No, I'll do one." Bischoff said, "Why are you going to do one for? Why not two?" Triple H says, "Well, if I do one, it's going to tell you if I'm either if I'm not worth the money, or I'm worth more than the money." So Triple H basically said, 1 year will tell you how good, if you want me or not. And, they agreed on it. Triple H said WCW. He went there as, I forgot to tell you, I got his ring name. Triple H, Kowalski, keep calling him Kowalski for whatever reason, told Triple H his ring name is going to be terrorizing, like, you're terrorizing me. And Triple H like, no, I want it to be 2 names. And he goes, alright, your name's going to be Terror, and then, Rising is your last name. And then eventually got turned into Terra Rising, and he worked with that. He went to WCW with that name, and eventually, they called him up to headquarters, and they repackaged him as John Paul Levesque, who was a Frenchman, which, horrible gimmick, which he eventually got teamed up with William Regal. They feuded for the tag team titles, they feuded the Steiners, and then eventually Triple H left WCW because they were going to the point where they were cutting house shows or just doing TV events, and Triple H wanted to work every day of the week, or, they wanted to work all the events, and he contacted Vince McMahon, told him, like, hey, I want to work house shows, I want to work all these events, that's why I'm leaving WCW. Vince, agreed with it. He said, alright, come down to the WWF. He went in there as Hunter Hearst-Helmsley, just, basically pushed him right off the bat, and then, talked about how he got into the clique, how just one day he was waiting to get his rental car and a van pulled up, it was Kevin Nash, Scott Hall, Sean Waltman, and Shawn Michaels. It's like, hey, you want to come ride with us? He's like, nah, I'll get my own car. Like, come on, man, come ride with us. He's like, alright. And that's basically how the clique formed. They basically just smuggled him up and threw him into the group already without really getting his approval. So that's how the clique really started, just Triple H waiting, and they pretty much brought him in. And Kevin Nash said they're always a huge fan of him, how they would watch WCW Saturday Night on their road nights because they had Saturdays off, and they would just basically watch WCW because of how horrible it was. And yet, kind of contradicts himself considering Hall and Nash went to WCW. But they said they're always a huge fan of his, and they're happy to be with him, and just, he was everything they'd want, how he didn't do any drugs, he didn't smoke, drink, or anything. They're like, oh, well, here'd be our oh my god, I can't say it now. I'm sorry, for some reason I cannot pronounce the word right now. Designated driver. There we go. Now I can pronounce it. For, whenever they got drunk or whatever. So Triple H joined the clique. They talked about the Madison Square Garden incident where, Hall and Nash left, Shawn Michaels, didn't get any heat. Triple H was the only one who got the heat from the Madison Square Garden incident where, everyone basically said they disgraced wrestling because they broke kayfabe. And actually, something I didn't know. I knew that Triple H was supposed to become King of the Ring that year in '96. But what I didn't know was, when he won it, I didn't know he was supposed to engage in the huge feud with Shawn Michaels for the WWE Championship. So that was something I didn't know. I was really interested about that. So that was cool to hear. But Triple H basically, he said how he kept losing, and he was pretty much on the shit end stick for a while. And then eventually he started, getting rebuilt back by, winning the Intercontinental Championship. winning King of the Ring the next year, basically, slowly rebuilding himself back up, and then which, led into DX, which, they talk about how they wanted to do DX, but, Vince wouldn't approve the idea. They kept pitching to him, they kept telling him no. Eventually, Vince did it, and they'd come out on TV and, do things they weren't supposed to do. They'd get their ass chewed out every time, like, Vince would be pissed because they did these things they weren't supposed to do. They'd apologize. Next week they do something else they're not supposed to do. Basically, they kept getting in trouble every week. And Vince didn't, kept telling them, hey, you're not supposed to do that. They would apologize, and, same thing every week. And they talk about they brought in China, how they randomly saw her. I forgot how they saw her. I think it was like at a hotel or something. They saw her somewhere, airport. They just saw her one day. And they're like, dude, this is like perfect for our heater. Because I didn't even know what the hell heater was until today, by the way. Heater is basically like the manager, you get cheap heat or whatever. Which I didn't know that, like I said. So it's another thing I learned from this documentary. And they kept pitching the idea to Vince, and Vince kept turning it down, like, oh, it's stupid. And it's like, it's a chick. It's like, that's the point. The chick, you never would guess a chick would be, a heater for someone. And Vince, like I said, kept turning it down. But then they eventually pinched the idea to Shane McMahon. Shane loved it, convinced Vince. Then China got brought in, and, they rode on with that. They talked about the feud with McFoley, where in 97, 98, I forgot which year, one of the two. I think it was 97. Where it was Triple H and Cactus Jack would engage into these awesome matches like that street fight, Falls County War on Raw, where Foley power drive Triple H to the table. They just had these awesome matches, and Triple H, for once, actually put Foley over. He actually finally gave credit to Big Foley for putting him on the map, even though all these years saying he didn't put him on the map. He finally admitted to it. So that was good to hear. They talk about DX, like I said, how him and Shawn would do all these things. And then, eventually how, when Shawn left, they weren't sure what to do with DX. They weren't really sure if it would go anywhere. They pretty much thought it was dead when Shawn left. But Triple H wanted to, continue it. They did, thankfully. They, added Shawn Waltman and Billy Gunn and Road Dogg. And they basically repackaged the whole group. And it actually went better than it did before. They actually thought it was way better than the original DX. They thought it was a lot more fun. Thought it was a lot more entertaining. DX was basically the cool thing at the time. And then they talked about the feud with the Nation Domination, where, Rock and Triple H were the leaders of the group, which, they were the two future stars of the company. And they both had their respective groups, and, they had these awesome segments when, when DX came out and impersonated the Nation Domination. And they talked about the Triple H and Rock feud from 98 in here a little bit, how they had that ladder match at SummerSlam for the Intercontinental Championship. And they talked about their Intercontinental title matches, how, they had the Intercontinental title matches, kind of like, well, world champion, how are you going to top this Intercontinental title match? Like saying, like, it was hard to top their matches. And just great stuff there. They talked about the road for Triple H, how he wanted to break away from DX, and, the DX members weren't happy about that, because that's when DX was still on top. And Triple H said it was the best thing to do was to break away from the group while it was on top, because, why would you want to wait till the group died down to get rid of it? Finish fights on top, and that's what he did, and the group didn't like that, but, Triple H didn't really care. He's like, what, it's right timing, it's my time, no pun intended, his theme song, and, he broke away and became a huge star, got that promo saying that he was JR, saying how he's become the champion at SummerSlam 99, they talked about the match. It was originally supposed to be him and Austin at SummerSlam 99 for the WWE Championship. Austin's knee was hurt, so they had to turn into a triple threat with Mick Foley. Foley won the title, but Triple H would then win the title the next night on Raw, which, Foley kind of put the idea down. He thought it was kind of dumb to have Triple H's first title win be on a Raw instead of a huge pay-per-view like SummerSlam. Foley basically, he didn't even know why he was even in that pick, so that was kind of funny. But, they went on to talk about the McMahon Helmsley regime, or era, whatever you want to call it, how, Triple H and Steph really didn't know each other when they got thrown into the idea. And, Triple H pretty much, pitched out the idea for the Triple H and Stephanie thing, because they're doing the whole storyline with Test and Steph getting married. And Triple H, or Vince didn't know what to do after that, and Triple H pitched the idea of him and Steph getting married when he, drugged her. And that actually secured a relationship between the two. They legitimately started dating because of that, they started falling for each other, and they started dating. And everyone but Vince was pretty much against it. You know, he actually gave the approval for it, and everyone else was like, oh man, it's bad for, you know, for Triple H to do that to risk his career, because if it doesn't end up well, he can get fired. Basically, Triple H put his whole career in jeopardy for a woman, and, you know, Steph was saying that was the most romantic thing she's ever seen or heard of someone to do for her. And they basically had a legitimate relationship, which, you know, Vince would later on to hate, you know, basically say, hey, I don't approve this anymore. They'd eventually break up, but then they'd eventually get back together, because, you know, they got to the point where they said, fuck it, we don't care what anyone else thinks, if we're together, who cares? And, you know, it actually showed them getting married in October 2003, which was kind of cool. But, yeah, they talked about that. Then they talked about the feud with The Rock in 2000, where they're both, you know, trying to become the top guy, because, you know, Austin was out that year, and they both wanted to become champion. You know, they feuded for the title. They had the Iron Man match, like I said earlier, for the title. And they're, you know, basically discussing how great their matches were, which you can't really argue with. Their matches are awesome. And then, you know, talking about the quad injury, where he injured his quad. He was out for, I forgot how many months. It was like 7-8 months he was out for. And then when he came back, you know, when he was in gorilla position, he was talking about how he had, you know, butterflies in his stomach because he wasn't sure what kind of reaction he would get when he come out, if it was just crickets or whatnot. Let alone when he came out, he got one of the biggest, if not the biggest, reaction of his career, which he couldn't believe. He even said he felt like crying in the ring, but he couldn't do it, considering, like, you know, I'm supposed to be a heel, I'm supposed to be a man, not cry during this. And then he talked about Evolution, how, you know, one day he saw Flair just sitting in the stands by himself. He approached Flair, and, you know, they weren't really doing anything with Flair, and he talked to Vince, like, you know, put me with Flair and do something with them, and they did. And then he's like, no, let's add 2 guys to the group that I see as a future of the company, which, you know, was Triple H and, not Triple H, which was Randy Orton and Batista, who Triple H picked to be in the group because, you know, he said they're going to be the future of the company, which they were. And they pretty much talked about it, and then they pretty much went on to DX. They talked about how they didn't even know how DX really even formed again. They pretty much just, they came back together. And even though they came back in a completely different era than they once were before, they thought this reincarnation of DX was just way better. I thought it was the funniest they've ever been. Just great segments. 2006 DX was awesome. You can't really deny that. That's why they have their own DVD from that year. But they, like I said, they pretty much didn't even know how it came about. It just happened. They talked about his knee injury in 2007. They didn't really even go over it. They just kind of like said, like, oh, he injured his knee again. But they didn't really go into detail about it. They literally spent like a minute on that subject. They really didn't talk about it that much. They talked about his feud with Randy Orton, which was a great feud. They even buried their Mania match, which kind of surprised me, because they said that they felt like they had handcuffs on them, because, you know, their whole feud was built around they're trying to kill each other. They were legitimately trying to, like, murder each other because of how much they hate each other. But when it came to the match, they had a stipulation where if you got DQ'd or disqualified, then Triple H lost the title. So it was like, we're supposed to have a scientific wrestling match to a feud that was built off, this match is going to be purely war. So basically, they thought their match should have been like a no DQ match or something, I'm guessing. But they're disappointed, especially because they had to follow Shawn Michaels and The Undertaker from WrestleMania 25. They just felt like their match didn't click well just because of the stipulation, and, you know, the crowd was dead. They didn't like their Mania 25 match, so they kind of, like, you know, felt like the whole build for the feud was basically for nothing. Well, not for nothing, but it kind of just, like, you know, it wasn't what it should have been. They talked about how he got into acting, you know, when he had his time off from 2010. How he was actually originally supposed to be in a few movies in 2000, I think it was. Yeah, it was 2001, he was supposed to be in a few movies, but he turned it down. And luckily he did, because that's, you know, around the time he got his quad injury, so he couldn't do it anyways. But, you know, in 2010 he did the 2 movies, Chaperone and Inside Out. And he got praised for that. Then they, you know, talked about the feud with The Undertaker where, you know, words that need to be spoken for their 27 match, considering, you know, they both looked at the sign when they both came back at the 2/21/11, and, you know, after the match where, you know, the loser was the only guy standing, the winner was the guy that was getting carried out. You couldn't end it right there, so they had to continue the feud next year at WrestleMania. And even The Undertaker said, like, how can you top, you know, the match at 27? You gotta up the ante by having Hell in a Cell. And that's what they did at 28, had a phenomenal match with Shawn Michaels as a special guest referee. The whole thing on the stage, you know, just kind of happened when they all hugged each other, which I thought was great them to say how it just naturally happened. It wasn't even like planned or anything. And then Triple H would then pretty much go on. The rest of the documentary pretty much talked about his off duties, about him being the coming a businessman, basically, how he transitioned to a wrestler into like this corporate guy backstage, how NXT and everything, and all the things he's done the last couple of years backstage. They pretty much the last 10 minutes or so is about that. And when you watch this documentary, like I said, Triple H gets praised a lot, as he should. He's a great person, but too much positivity, I thought, and I felt like some of the things were kind of like rush and skip, like how they went from talking about Evolution, that was an 02, 03, 04 thing, to talking about DX. Like they skipped around a lot. I felt like with the years. I mean, there may not have been a lot of big things that happened in the years they skipped, but it's like you completely skipped like everything. Like you went from talking about Orton and Triple H from 25 to all the way to his random movies at the end of 2010. Like I don't know, it kind of felt incomplete, and I feel like they skipped a few things and kind of rushed a few things. So I don't know, I was kind of disappointed by that. But I still thought this was a great documentary overall. Definitely a must-have, like I said several times throughout this video. Just a great documentary, great DVD to have, especially for a Triple H fan. I know there's a lot of Triple H fans. There's a lot of guys who don't like Triple H for whatever reason. I think Triple H is best for business when it comes to decision making. We all have our opinions about the current storyline, but when you look at the end of the day, Triple H really is a great mind for wrestling. And they even say in this documentary that Triple H, Batista even said it. Like Triple H was the go-to guy when he wanted to know something about, or learn something about the business. And just a great overall documentary. Like I said, Triple H, awesome guy, awesome wrestler, definitely a future Hall of Famer. And yeah, that's basically it for this review. I'm over 27 minutes, so I'd be very surprised if anyone watched at this point. But I'm going to stop talking now, and thank you guys for watching the video, and be sure to pick this DVD up when it comes out on Tuesday. So yeah, out later, guys.